Now Pettersson the blast. Oh, that hit Provorov. Diving save. Hart as he flashes across. Briere sends up Carl. Side of the net. Deflected. Score! Briere moving in. Stop. Cuts to the middle. Still has it. Shot! Score! Here's Hughes getting it across. Oh, glad save! Save by Maher! Got it to him. He's in angle. Short-handed mid. He scores! Up top, cruising is Provorov. He scores! Ivan Provorov!
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fired Up Podcast. I am your host, Amedeo Grassia, along with my partner, Chris Maher. We are live, as always, Lions, TTP Sports, and Flyers Fan Mania 93 on YouTube. And also, if you don't happen to catch this podcast on the live stream, you will always find it wherever you listen to your podcast, on Apple, Spotify, wherever. Tyson was not able to join us again this week, but he will in a future episode. The man is working hard. He is grinding to earn that money. We love him. He'll be back in another time. So, Chris, a little bit of a nervous situations right here with the Philadelphia Flyers. Even though they are 3-1 to start the season, it's really good to hear that. But I think the biggest topics that concern this team right now is you don't have Sean Couturier for 2 weeks, and you don't know what's wrong with Phil Myers and Morgan Frost. And just everything else.
Yeah. Last night's game, me being there was an awesome experience, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I thought they actually, that was probably their most consistent effort of the season. I'll say that. I think it took them a little bit to get it going in the first. I'll say that. But as the game kind of went on and late in that period, they kind of got it going. And again, I thought that was their most consistent effort. The injuries last night did not help. You essentially played the whole game without Kutz's replacement in Frost, so another center, and a top four defenseman in Myers. So, that was a bummer. And again, I feel like for the most part, I thought the Flyers played good, to be honest. I know a lot of people, may disagree, but, they won 3-0. Yes, they gave up, 40 shots on goal. But still, they had a shutout. Moose was fantastic. And I think overall, as I said, I think it was the most consistent effort. I thought Patrick's line with TK, honestly, all the lines played good, but one line that stood out to me the most was Patrick's line with TK and Lindblom. But again, it was an unbelievable experience being there. And again, I was just happy that they were able to pull out a win. And obviously coming off Monday's game where it was, me and you know how bad Monday was. So, again, I was just really happy that they kind of came out last night and kind of, set the tone early and picked up a win.
Yeah, I think we don't need to mention Monday's game at all. That game was just an absolute crapshoot at that point.
Yeah, 100%. It was just terrible.
But at least the one thing I think that stands out is, because you know how last year's team, every time they would lose a game, whether it was a good loss, whether it was a bad loss, they would always find a way to bounce back, whether it was a back-to-back game, whether it was a couple of nights after, they would always find a way to bounce back. And they did it yesterday. Brian Elliott, like you said, he played fantastic. 40 save shutout. Just, oh my goodness, he was on another level. But it's just, it's just when I think about it right now, you have Phil Myers. It's like when you see the hit on Phil Myers, it doesn't look that bad. No. But then when you see the replays and you see him on the bench, like he's favoring his hip a little bit. But I'm also hearing rumors that it could be a knee issue as well. Like when both players collided knee to knee at the boards. And then with the Frost situation, that just looked absolutely terrible with the way he was favoring his arm. It makes me so nervous, man.
Yeah,
so nervous.
I know. And that's the thing, because and as I said, I didn't even know that Myers was there. I know I just said this to you before we were off camera. I didn't even know Myers wasn't there. I was like, oh, okay. Because I'm checking Twitter and I see a tweet from Jordan Hall. I was like, oh, that's great. So I'm like, great. So I'm going to play the rest of this game. This is like the, I believe it was like 9:50 mark of the second period when there was a whistle. And I was like, great. So they're going to play the rest of this game with 5 defensemen. I was like, all right, let's see how they do. Well, then Frost, I'm like, Jesus, that's 2 guys now. And then, after with the AV on the post-game presser where he says that they're going to get MRIs today, and it's 8:00 right now as we're doing this, and we haven't heard anything yet. So it might be worse than expected. It might be they're still trying to figure it out. Maybe the MRI isn't done. A lot of things can kind of get into it. So I'm not too sure. I mean, again, we really don't know. I'm assuming tomorrow morning or in the afternoon. I have to think tomorrow because, again, the Flyers play tomorrow. So I would assume that there's going to be an update tomorrow before the game. They did travel to Boston today. There was no practice or anything. So that was kind of the thing, I think, for the most part. Again, I had to think it comes tomorrow because, as I said, they play tomorrow. And, I know we were kind of running through it a little bit. I mean, if they're going into tomorrow's game, right, and this is just assuming they don't have Frost and Myers. Lines, and we were kind of talking about this like 10 minutes before we were coming on, was like a couple line combinations. We were thinking JVR with Giroux. Obviously, you'd have to move G at center, I'd have to think. And again, these lines aren't in any order. So JVR with Giroux and Voracek, Lindblom, Patrick, and Konechny, Lawton, Hayes, and Farabee, and then Raffle, Bunneman, who was the 13th forward. I'd have to think he comes in. Bunneman slips into the fourth line center, and I'll be good. But then it's tough because, like, do they really switch up that fourth line that's played good? But then again, it's like, do you want Bunneman playing your third line, even though they don't necessarily, that's the thing. AV doesn't really look at them as a first, second, third, or fourth line. So he honestly, that wouldn't really surprise me if Bunneman would play a third line wing role, to be honest. And for the defense, again, if they don't have Myers, Provorov, Sanheim, Braun, Gustafsson, Hag, and Freeman. Obviously, I would assume Hart would be in net tomorrow. Elliott coming off a 40-save shutout, they might put him in. I would not be mad at all if Moose was in net tomorrow. But I have to think the Flyers go hard tomorrow. But those are just kind of some line combinations.
Yeah, I was also thinking, too, when you were going over that, maybe you can also throw Michael Raffle on that line with Giroux and JVR. Maybe you keep Lawton on that fourth line that just as a center, and then you put Butterman on the wing. Like, there's many other different combinations that Alain Vigneault can do. Who knows? Maybe he goes into the game, he has his set pairings, and then maybe he switches them up a little bit as the game goes along. Kind of similar to what he did last night against Buffalo, because it felt like, okay, he was starting the same lines that he had on Monday, but then as the game went along, he kind of mixed them up a little bit. Yeah. So maybe something to throw Boston's game off a little bit.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. I feel like for the most part, AV kind of always has different lines. Like when Frost was out with that injury to start the third, they had Giroux with JVR and Jake, and G was at center. So I wouldn't be surprised if G gets moved to center from our guy. You have to think. I was actually walking out of the building last night talking with Bill Meltzer about it, and he was like, if Frost can't play, we were kind of talking about it. I was like, I'd have to think, Bunneman already being the 13th forward, and we were talking about that, Bunneman coming in. So again, I think for the most part, it's obviously not their best lineup, but again, the one game you've already played and you lost Coots, and essentially played two, obviously 3 games, but you played 2 games going into this one, and now you lose Frost or Coots' replacement in Frost, so that's not good either. So again, the Flyers have depth, but it's definitely getting tested really early in the season. I was talking to Yuri from Flyers Nitty Gritty about this too, and he was kind of saying like he thinks one of the main reasons with all the injuries is probably because there wasn't a training camp, and I think that makes sense because you're obviously not used to the contact. So we've seen a lot of these like muscle strain. I mean, Coots had that weird injury. I don't even know how to say it. It sounds like he couldn't even say it 5 times fast. So I feel like for the most part, I'm hoping that we get the update tomorrow because again, obviously on game day is probably when you'd expect it. It could come tonight. You never really know, but hopefully it's nothing too serious with the both of them.
Yeah, I really hope it is nothing too serious because when you lose Sean Couturier for 2 weeks, that's already hard enough. But it's probably honestly the best case scenario that it wasn't worse than what the hit looked like, because when you saw Sean Couturier go off onto the bench, he was really just favoring that shoulder and just like saying, I'm done. I got to get out. And he played 45 seconds during that entire game.
It was a second shift. Yeah.
And just like you bring the replacement, that's Morgan Frost, and then he gets injured. And where the hit did look very bad, you saw him like really favor that arm. But then like Phil Myers, it looks like just as innocent hit. But then going to your point when you were talking about your Reeve, saying that, yeah, basically a very short lack of training camp, a very lack of no preseason games at all. It's not going to be the best preparation for going into a regular season with live contact and players that are going to try to ram you over. And also, speaking of ram you over, the Buffalo Sabres head coach really wants Ivan Provorov to get suspended for, getting pushed in by Brandon Montour in the Carter Hutton. For some odd reason, he believes that Ivan Provorov, it was a set plan. He thinks Ivan Provorov was on purposely just went into Carter Hutton when it was clearly obvious that Brandon Montour pushed him into Carter Hutton, which forced them to pull him in the third period. So, no, that's not going to happen, Buffalo.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm going to read this tweet from Bill Meltzer from a couple hours, actually very early this morning. And it says, and this is the tweet: Kruger trying to get Provorov suspended for the collision with Hutton after being shoved into the goalie by Montour is the NHL equivalent of a lawsuit that gets laughed out of court. There was no time for Provorov to react, let alone decide to go headhunting with the elbow. He's 100% right. Like, and I'm thinking of that too. I'm like, he got pushed. Like, I don't understand what you think like is going to happen there. Your guy pushed him. I don't even. The league probably didn't even look at that. You know what I mean? It's like it's laughable. It really is.
I'm just like, did he even look at the replay? Like, did he even like look at the scenario that happened? It's just Provorov clearly got pushed into the net. I don't know where he's trying to get that argument from.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, to be honest.
I completely agree with you on that standpoint. We got some comments right here in the live chat. We got Tales of a Failed Life saying Moose definitely stood on his antlers. Just need to clean up the turnovers. And yeah, turnovers have, I would especially in yesterday's game, they were cleaned up a lot. There were still a little few mistakes, but if you go back to that Monday game, the one shift with turnovers that really stood out to me was that where it was the Lawton line out against the Jack Eichel line, and he turned over.
Gus.
Yeah, and they turned it over like literally 3 straight times to Jack Eichel. And it was just, oh my.
Yeah, it's not the guy you want to turn the puck over to. I think one thing the Flyers kind of struggled with last night too was going up against that Eichel line. But again, well, why do you think that? Well, they don't have Coots. Mm-hmm. So if Coots was out there, he'd be matched up against that line, and that wouldn't have been a problem. The game probably would have opened up a lot more for the Flyers if they had Couturier out there, to be honest. And that's just the tone of the play and everything. It's weird. I saw a lot of people on Twitter say they played soft. Like, and I'm looking at like the sheet, like after the game, I'm like, the hits were 38-18. I'm like, I don't understand what I mean. Were we watching the same game or what? Because I didn't see them play soft at all. I felt like every time Buffalo had the puck, there was a big hit that happened from the Flyers, and there were guys throwing their body. Like Konechny had a couple nice hits, Patrick had a couple nice hits, Lindblom. There was hits from everybody. Even JVR looked physical. JVR. And it's funny because, like, and as I said, I was talking to Bill walking out, and he was saying, he thought it was a good thing that, JVR gets mentioned in the post-game thing too. A guy who's essentially in AV's doghouse. We talked about that before, where like he's not really a guy that a coach praises like that. He's got to be more physical for being that, this long in the league, and he's not. So I feel like, with JVR, he understands now, because honestly, if you think about it, if JVR doesn't, kind of pick up his game and play better and more physical and everything, he's going to lose his spot in the line in this lineup, and he could even lose his spot in the NHL. So you never really know. But again, I thought JVR was good. Again, I thought the Flyers played good last night, but it was just they gave up a lot of shots, but nothing was really like humongous quality. It was really just like those 2 Skinner chances in the first period. And I can't really think. I mean, I know they had a post off that weird play at the side of the net.
Yeah, it was Dylan Cousins had that wide open net for some reason. I had no idea how the puck didn't go in. He just ringed it off the pipe.
Yeah, and then Olofsson had one. He missed it. He hit the post. It went right out. And Miller from the point had an absolute bomb. That crossbar, do you remember that? The shot from the point off the one face off? You know how loud that was in there? My ears were ringing. Very loud. My ears were ringing. Like, I was like, oh my God, like that was loud. But yeah, it was I thought the Flyers played good this night. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was a much better game than I would say the first 3 combined. When you look at the first 2 wins against the Pittsburgh Penguins, yes, the Flyers won those games in convincing fashion. They scored more goals than the opposing team. They scored 11 goals combined in the first 2 games. But yes, there were a lot of very, very sloppy moments. A lot of turning the puck over, a lot of odd man rushes for Pittsburgh, and that was clearly exposed in game 1 against Buffalo. And then AV mentioned that in his post-game press conference, they were exposed a lot. He was embarrassed. The team was embarrassed. That was probably very hard for them to sleep that night. And they shut it down a little bit, and they cleaned their game up. There were still a few mistakes, but nowhere near as close as the first 3 games. It was their best effort so far in the first 4 games of the season, and hopefully it does get better, but it's still like when you have that concerning feeling where you still don't know what's wrong with Myers, you still don't know what's wrong with Frost. And then the one thing that still also makes me a little paranoid is because you get the little transaction that the Flyers made. They brought Derek Pouliot from the Phantoms roster and they put him onto the taxi squad. So that kind of gives you an iffy situation that Myers is definitely going to miss some time, where they put an extra defenseman on the taxi squad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like how much time, because if he misses a few games, that move still has to happen because they have to, have enough people on there. So my guess is that Friedman's probably going to be in the lineup tomorrow, which again, we kind of went off those lines earlier. I'd have to think because he was scratched last night. We kind of knew that. He was in warm-ups. So for the most part, I'd have to think that Friedman goes in tomorrow. I don't think Pouliot will play. I think the next guy up would have been Freeman anyway. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that right there. We got some other comments right here saying Flyers 28 saying, "What's up, guys?" TK has really stepped it up. I really love his game yet. Travis connecting in the first 4 games has looked very good. He scored the hat trick against Pittsburgh in game 2. Then he gets that breakaway goal in yesterday's game against Buffalo. It was funny too. I was talking to one of my buddies about this, and he's like thinking there's so many players that do that same exact play where they come on a breakaway and they just like go to the backhand, go 5-hole, and they're saying like, how do some goalies just not know that's coming because it's so common in the league today?
I feel like for the most part, I think it's just the way that you kind of have to approach it. Like I feel like if the way you approach it and you do it, like TK's coming in hot. I think that's why, because he's got to open, like you got to make the goalie make the first move. That's the big thing. So like I feel like if you're going fast, that move you can do it. But like if not, it's I don't know. I feel like for the most part, a lot of the problems with the goalies is like if you look at some of those goals, especially the backhand 5-hole, like the stick is always in the wrong position. That's why it slips through. But like, as I said, like Konechny was going fast on that breakaway, and that was a great play from Patrick too to even set it up. Throw it up the boards, Lindblom, perfect pass. Well, perfect enough so TK could get it as it went off the boards. Still a great play. And obviously he didn't mess it up, but I think the reason he was able to get that was I was happy he actually made the move instead of shooting, because Hutton was making saves, and I was just praying. I was like, please score here, because I'm watching the play develop. I'm like, TK's going, and I see him like go in the corner of my eye skating. I'm like, he's gone. And I didn't see where the puck was, because where my seat was, I saw the ref was near the board, and then I saw the puck just kind of squib out, and I was like, oh, I hope he gets that. I was really thinking that Hutton was going to kind of come out and try to play it. He didn't, and TK ended up potting it. And the Flyers needed that at that point because Buffalo was kind of pressuring later in that period because they had the power play. And then after that, they kind of picked up their momentum a little bit. So the Flyers really needed that goal. And I was happy that Konechny was able to score too, because that was a really nice goal.
Yeah, and that just shows like from that whole setup play right there, you got Patrick on the low boards and the Flyers and giving it over to Lindblom, who just feeds the perfect pass down the neutral zone where Konechny's literally just skating all by himself. So that was a nice setup play right there. We got Kevin saying hi to us. Then Tales of a Failed Life saying, I love TK saying that he learned his net front approach while watching Wayne Simmons. Can't go wrong with that, other than your face turning into a roadmap. LOL. And then we got Sean saying, Chris, what lies have I missed so far? Have there been any lies in this podcast so far, Chris?
No, I don't even know what he's talking about, to be honest.
And then Sean also brings up, can we deal Gustafsson for future considerations, please? God, he sucks.
I was waiting for a Gus comment. I knew it was coming.
Yeah,
I don't really think he played good last night either.
Yeah, Eric Guffs. Yeah, he's been quite an adventure.
He's just like a liability on defense.
Yeah, that is definitely the.
I like his offensive game. He's good. He's good on offense. Can move the puck. Good shot. Good passer. Everything else, inside their own blue line, not too much.
Ugh. Yeah, it's been quite an adventure because you see in the first game he gets the primary assist on those first 2 power play goals for the Flyers, but then ever since then, basically it's been turnover in the own zone, turnover.
Yeah.
It's I think it's going to be quite an adventure the entire season with Eric Gustafsson. He's definitely going to be one of the most hated by the fans, and understandably so, because he sucks in his own zone.
Yeah.
And we got some more comments right here from Flyers28 saying, Chris, love your vids. Congrats on getting to the game. Keep up the great work. And speaking of that, Chris, why don't you go for your little experience of your Flyers nitty-gritty media experience at the Flyers game last night?
So thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. Again, I would not, again, seriously, I would not be able to have gone to it, being able to attend that game last night without any of you, even you, Amedeo, everybody listening. Again, I don't even know what to say, to be honest. I'm kind of it still amazes me right now that I was even able to go, to be honest. But for the most part, the game was awesome. I mean, the atmosphere obviously different. Kind of walking in business attire is pretty weird. I never brought my computer to a game or anything like that, so it was weird. I'll say that. So kind of like when I get in there, kind of just to give a little rundown before, I walk in and, since you're media and stuff, you kind of you had to go through like metal detector and everything. So get all that done, COVID scan, things like that. And then I get media pass, which is actually hanging up. You can kind of see it a little bit as I'm trying to get my finger on it. It's like right here, like yellow card kind of. I had that around my neck. Got the media pass, and then they gave me this sheet, which was the media information sheet for last night. So I had all the rosters of the players who were in, the officials, and then all of the team executives, owner, CEO, coaches, things like that. And then kind of as the game goes on, before the first period, they gave a lineup sheet, which was the wrong lines because they changed the lines last minute after warmups. So that actually is not wrong. Actually, is not correct. And then after each period, somebody comes around and gives you the official game summary, the game log of each period. So there's the first, second, and third here. These three sheets are all the first, second, and third for the game. So that was actually really cool. That you kind of have the official game log of everything, which some of that stuff I've never seen. It is different being in there because it's quiet. Like when Konechny scored, I kind of gave a little cheer. And I was just like, because they needed that goal. I was kind of just like, obviously I had the mask on and everything. So I was like, yes, like it wasn't like loud, but it wasn't like quiet either. I'll say that. So the guy next to me ended up looking over, and that was kind of like a weird, like, cause we kind of like looked like eye to eye, and I was just like, uh-oh. Cause first time and everything. Well, then as the game kind of went on, you kind of settled into it. When Voracek had scored, I made sure I kind of didn't give any reaction, just like a little fist bump. And I didn't even see the empty netter because I was in the middle of like typing something on my notes on my computer, and then I look up and like the puck is just like rolling from the hash marks in, and I was like, "There we go." So again, I thought the game was great, as I said. I thought again the atmosphere was great, packed building. I'll say that. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean honestly, as you see the background of this is the picture I took at the game last night. The atmosphere was still cool. Like being in Wells Fargo, like covering the game. It's insane when you sit there because you have this big table to yourself, like more than enough room. It's probably like the table is at least like it looked like it's probably about the size of my bed, to be honest. Like that's how big this table was. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like I just got in. Lady walked me to my seat and everything because I had no idea where I was going. Because everything's all spread out in the concourse and you're in a different section and you got to look for I was at section M28 was my table. So I'm looking and like none of it was in order. Like it was like I'm looking and it's like M20, 26 and then 34 and then 28. I was like, okay. So I had no idea where I was going and she just walked me there and I sit down. She's like, if you need anything, just come down. I was like, all right, thank you. I appreciate it. I sit down. I didn't unpack anything. I'm just sitting there. I'm looking around, and there's like a couple people in there typing notes and stuff. And I'm looking, and this is the picture that I kind of took. They're like prepping the ice and stuff. I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like I made it. Like I'm here. Like, and right now I remember it. Like I remember saying that, like, oh my God, like this is insane. And I just kind of looked at the media pass for a minute, and I was just like, wow. So that was it. Listen, it's an unbelievable experience. There's nothing better than being in there to cover a game. It was awesome. It's something I'll remember for the rest of my life. And for the most part, I didn't have many issues, to be honest. Like as I said, my view of the game was great. I was in section 111, so that was where the Flyers shot once. That was more of the away side, and for the most part, Actually, no, that was for the flyer shot twice. Sorry. It was pretty much the most part where the only issue I really had was the Wi-Fi. I couldn't get my Wi-Fi connected. I didn't get my Wi-Fi until 3 minutes before warm-up started. One of the executives had to come over and help me set it up because my laptop was apparently too old to connect to the new routers that they got there, which were newer, and they were like 5 gigabytes or something. And I didn't really understand what the guy was telling me. I don't know that stuff. It's all tech stuff. I had no idea. And he was just like, it kind of takes a little bit to load up and stuff. He's like, it should be an instant connection. Well, obviously it wasn't. So I actually had to connect to a personal hotspot through my phone and connect that to my computer where I ended up getting the Wi-Fi. But again, it was an unbelievable experience. I think, not having the fans there is still cool to watch the game because you hear a lot of stuff that you wouldn't pick up on TV. Like there was a play where you kind of heard Giroux like a turnover, and then you kind of just heard him blur out the F word as he's skating through, and then you hear like AV, he's like 3-3 because they got a 3-on-2 coming the other way. So all that stuff's kind of cool when you kind of see it in motion. I'm kind of sitting there like, great. Now it's 3-on-2 the other way, and it's like Eichel, Hall, and I think it was Olofsson go down. I was like, oh, this is great. And like Braun and Gustafsson are out there. I'm like, oh god, here comes a goal. But I'm kind of sitting there and I'm just like, oh, I don't like. That 5-on-3 Buffalo had in the beginning of the period, I was like, here we go, boys. Here we go. Because I was just waiting for it to be 1-0, 2-0. I was like, this is going to be great. But honestly, if you think about it, if they didn't kill off the 5-on-3, that game would have been totally different. Totally different. And honestly, for the most part, it was an unbelievable experience. I can't thank Jamie and Yuri enough. It was unbelievable. One thing I'll say is that, it's once you're in, like, and anybody listen to this too, like I had so many people messaging me from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, everything, text message, all that stuff. If there's any advice that I could give is just follow your dreams and I know it sounds so cliche, but if you really think about it, like in my perspective, like we started this podcast in August of 2019, right? It was when I met you.
Yeah, August 2019, I think. Yeah.
And in that short of a time, in January of 2021, I was in the press box. Well, the semi-press box with COVID and everything.
The COVID press box.
Right, yeah, the COVID press box. But still, you know what I mean? Like, if you work hard and all that stuff, it pays off. It really does. And, I don't mean to like toot my own horn or anything. But again, it was an unbelievable time. I'll never forget it. And, I was able to talk with a lot of people too. Like I talked with Jordan Hall at first intermission. That was cool. Went down, talked with him a little bit. Saw Sam Carchidi at the end of the game. Really cool. I was able to say hi to Sam and everything. And this is it. I literally just, random conversation walking out with Bill Meltzer. I was like, oh, this is
normal.
Yeah, this is completely normal. I'm walking in. You know how I told you I had to go down and get the lady for the Wi-Fi and everything? Well, I walk back and Jonesy's walking through the inner thing. And he's like, hey, what's up, buddy? I'm like, hey, Jonesy, how are you? I'm walking by and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, Keith Jones just said, hey, what's up, buddy, to me. I'm like, this is unbelievable. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm here right now. So again, it was an unbelievable experience. I'll never forget it. And again, I really hope that, everybody has a chance to do that because it's an unbelievable experience. Like it's a dream, man. It really is.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. I've done it a couple of times when I was still in Temple. I'm graduated right now, but I did for Owl Sports Update. I did a couple of the basketball games, and I did one of their bowl games. It's quite a different experience, and definitely it's going to be the first of many more for you and me. And who knows, maybe Florida Podcast will eventually be there as a duo when like everyone is eventually allowed back into the Wells Fargo Center. Just can you imagine that?
That would be insane. Could you imagine me sitting next to this schmuck in the middle of the game up in the press box? Oh my God.
They would have to give us like our own section because that's how much clout we take up.
Just put over the door, idiots. and then you see me and you walk in.
Yep, that's us.
But those two schmucks on top of the door.
It's just like no one knows what that means but us.
Yeah, no one.
It's like we put in a personal note like to the directly, can you just put our label as those two schmucks? No one else will get it but us, so we know that's our spot. Oh boy, and that's definitely a great story right there, Chris. Like I said, first of many for you. Hopefully, I'll eventually get my chance eventually with Nitty Gritty because I'm there. And as I just see your dad walk into the door.
Yeah, sorry about that. I guess he forgot or whatever. I don't know. Because every time we do this live now, I send him the link and he never texted back, so I just assumed he didn't know or was doing something. So yeah, no, it is what it is. But yeah, I literally have no idea what you're saying. I'm like focusing on something else. I'm just like, I have no idea what you just said. I can't even like cover it up. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have no idea what you just said.
It's funny too for people that are listening this on the Apple Spotify version. This part is definitely going to stay in there because it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, and I can't even cover it up. I'm just like, yeah, I have no idea what you just said.
So just to quickly just get it off, I said like definitely first of many for you. Hopefully, because I'm also a part of Flyers Nitty Gritty. Hopefully, I'll get my chance eventually during the season. It'll definitely happen. Just gotta wait for it. Can't rush it to happen. And it's funny as like you're talking about this entire story, I see like so many people in the comment section talking about like I got Sean here talking about Provorov suspension, saying that. So what do you guys think? 20-game suspension for Provorov for his brutality.
Games? Could you imagine, dude? Oh my god, I'd be so mad. 20 games.
Tails says that Provorov clearly intentionally attacked on Hutton was uncalled for.
Yeah.
And then Sean also says, next time you go, Chris, please refrain from booing Lauren Hart during the national anthem. Unprofessional.
That wasn't even live. That was taped.
Oh my god, the amazing stuff right here in the comments. Flyers 28 saying, I met Keith Jones in a parking lot. Great guy. That's a great story right there.
It is.
I guess moving along to, I guess before we get into our talk about the Bruins series that's coming up for Thursday and Saturday, I guess some like small news, well, not small news, actually big news that's going on in the NHL right now. So the Washington Capitals, they just got fined $100K for some players that were in a social gathering that were not wearing any type of protection whatsoever, no face masks or whatever. So the team gets fined $100K. And Chris, you know the players that were on the COVID protocols, right?
It was Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Orlov, and Samsonov. The four, and they're all Russian too.
And when you saw from Martinez's tweet saying Putin wasn't on that list either.
Yeah, the only guy who wasn't on that list was Putin. Sheesh.
Oh my goodness. And then also with the Carolina Hurricanes, I think they had 5 players tested positive for COVID, so I think they're not allowed to play their games like through the 23rd or something like that. So there's a little bit of a COVID bug going around the NHL right now, and hopefully it doesn't affect the Flyers in the any of times right now. It's really right now only those 2 teams. Dallas, they're eventually going to be playing their home opener or just finally their season opener, I think. Like you said, what is it, tomorrow or something like that?
22nd, I think.
Yes, so that's to Friday, actually, if it's going to be their first game.
Yeah.
So hopefully some of this stuff gets settled out and we can actually just have a smooth sail. But it's a shortened season. There's going to be some of these bumps on the road with COVID. So we're just going to have to roll with the punches as the days goes along, and also roll with the punches of the injury bug that's affecting the Philadelphia Flyers currently. That's just, oh boy. We got Alex saying right here, do you think the Flyers are too slow? And I've watched these games and I truly know how much Niski leaving hurts us now. Braun and Gustafsson are just not good enough. Yet they're like, in the first couple of games, you can definitely tell there's like a clear of how important Matt Niskanen was to that blue line defensive core. There's going to be some growing pains, exactly, with Provorov getting a new partner, like just trying to figure out who his new partner is even going to be, because it's definitely not going to be consistent this season. Sanheim now, with who knows how long Myers is going to be out, he's not going to have a consistent D partner. Hopefully it is Provorov. And then you have Justin Braun, Eric Gustafsson. Braun, I think, has done 10 times better than Gustafsson, because Gustafsson has just been absolute trash ever since he got those 2 assists. But
yeah,
that's one thing I want to ask you, Chris. Like, what's your assessment of this team after the first 4 games?
That's tough. I don't know. I really don't know. I think last night was a good showing of how they can play, but there's another gear that this team can hit. There honestly might be another 2 years. Honestly, with the way that they played last night, I think it's a showing of what you're going to see in the next few games. I think you're going to see more consistency. But then again, don't quote me on that because obviously I suck at predictions, 1. And 2, you just lost 2 more guys. And who knows what's going to happen with them, right? So I think for the most part, I don't necessarily think they've played great, but I don't think they've played bad. Like Monday's out of the question. That game sucked. We know that. But in the first 2 against Pittsburgh and last night was definitely their most consistent effort, the most 60-minute effort. They probably played. I wouldn't even say. I think they just battled a full consistent 60-minute game. I'm not really sure if what the issue is. Again, you don't have a camp, you don't have a preseason, so I don't want to sit here and make all these assumptions after 4 games in a season. I don't want to sit here and talk crap about 1 or 2 guys because of X amount of handful of plays they made in 4 games. Has Gus been bad? Yes, but has he been terrible? No. Some may beg to differ, but still, I feel like for the most part, I think they've looked good, just not good enough to our standard, I think is the thing. And there's definitely another gear they can hit. I think last night's game was a good showing of how they can kind of start to get the ball rolling here. But again, you lose 2 guys. So it's going to be tough. And I think this is, as we talked about before, it's going to be where the depth and the young talent they have is going to really, it's going to really have to come in.
There's some things that I've seen on Twitter the past few days. I know you should take Philadelphia sports Twitter with a grain of salt, but some of these people are just insanely so loud, even though it's an incredible small minority of people that do talk this way. But I've seen some tweets saying that the Flyers shouldn't focus on keeping their prospects or something like that and go out and trade for. I'm assuming this is after everything with Myers and Frost being injured and stuff like that. But saying, oh, the Flyers shouldn't be developing waiting for these prospects. Oh, wait for Cam York or something like that and go out and trade for a guy that can actually help this team right now. Where I'm going to correct that right now. You shouldn't be looking for that right now because this team is still young. They're still building. This team is what? Because if you look at other teams around the league, you look at teams like Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a team that is a lot of homegrown talent. Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman. I'm not comparing the Flyers to the Tampa Bay Lightning, but this is a comparison that I just see first top of my mind. Yeah, like I said, Kucherov, Stamkos, Victor Hedman, Braden Point. Even though Sergachev was traded from the Montreal Canadiens, but basically he turned into homegrown talent for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And you got all of these Sorelli, you got all these other homegrown talents. And then you mix it up a little bit with some depth guys and Andre Vasilevsky, homegrown talent. If people are talking about right now saying the Flyers have to go out and trade for this big guy that's going to help this team directly, no, because you're wasting so many years of this team if you're going to trade away a prospect, if you're going to prospect that's honestly almost ready at this point. I can honestly expect, this is just me being optimistic. I can honestly see Cam York signing his entry-level contract after his college season ends this year. And
I think York will make the Flyers next year.
Yeah. Who knows? He could be on the team at the end of his college season.
Exactly. This is going to be his last college year.
Yeah.
He's either playing NHL or AHL next year. And I know you might call me nuts if I think he'll make the NHL, but from what I've seen, he's looked fantastic. I don't even understand what even the point of trade. 4 games into the season, we're going to talk about trading prospects. This is the stupidest stuff that you know what I mean? And it's nothing against what you said. It's just I just don't understand. Why would they do that 4 games into a year? They have the roster set. How many times does Fletcher have to say that?
It's the typical Philadelphia fan overreaction to a loss.
How many times have they said the roster's set? They don't need anything else to this team. Well, okay. Why don't we look at their opening night lines? No wonder they didn't sign anybody in the offseason on, any forward or anything. The depth they have is insane. It's like I don't know if I watch the same team as other people. I really don't at this point. Like, it feels like I watch a different game every night.
No, because right now, since the Flyers actually have quote unquote expectations to be a much better team this year, those people that it reminds me of the like with the other Philadelphia sports teams with like the Sixers, Ben Simmons, that Ben Simmons has like first overall pick. He has all these expectations to be like like one of the best players. And then when Ben Simmons has a bad game, the haters are going to come out and trash him to the utmost extent. So like with the Eagles, Carson Wentz, he had a terrible year. Now everyone wants to run Carson Wentz out of the city. So when the Flyers had a bad game, everyone's saying, oh, we got to blow the team up. We got to make a trade. We got to get someone that's going to help this team if we're going to win a Stanley Cup. Oh, we're never going to win a Stanley. It's the simple Philadelphia sport fan overreaction.
Amedeo, quick little update. This was tweeted 7 minutes ago by Cap Friendly. Morgan Frost has been placed on IR, injured reserve. Yeah.
So that's the only update right there. It's just like
the tweets from Cap Friendly Transactions. NHL to IR, Morgan Frost C, Philadelphia. And if you click it, it says that he is, as of right now, I'm attempting to find it because it's kind of being annoying on here. Has him on here as IR right now on Cap Friendly. So it says he's eligible to come off IR on January 26th. So that's not long.
So he's basically maybe a week.
Frost is probably day to day.
Yeah, day to day, a week or something like that. So
I would assume
if that's the situation, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Now you just got to wait.
Makes me think, why wouldn't Coots go on IR then?
That's a good question.
Because if Coots is like, that doesn't necessarily make sense. But this is tweeted by Cap, like per Cap Friendly, the official Twitter account that has 127,000 followers. I know you can't see it on the screen, but still, I don't know. It's it's a little confusing now that this is right on the spot. We got to think about this.
Here you go. I guess you're somewhat breaking news.
Yeah, well, it's breaking. Well, if you want to hear some more breaking news, there's going to be an NHL roster update tomorrow on NHL 21. if that's what you want to be breaking news. Yeah. So Frost is on IR now. Now that I say that, let me look at my Cap Friendly on the website and just it's on here. Injuries. It's already updated. Frost on IR.
So they updated Frost right now, but there's still no idea what Myers is going through.
Mm-hmm. It's a little this is confusing.
Yeah, because like what you said, like he's eligible to come off IR the 26th. That just like, so is he just going to be out day to day? Is he out for a week or something like that? Because when is the 26th? I would assume that's like Monday or Tuesday.
That's Tuesday night.
So what, they played the New Jersey Devils that night? So are they trying to say that Frost will be available for that Devils game or something like that?
Maybe. So Frost misses a minimum of 2 days, and he's got to be day to day then.
I would assume so. If that's the case,
I would assume it's probably going to come out tomorrow morning. It has to. It has to because they're playing tomorrow, so I would have to come out tomorrow morning. So if Frost is out, say Frost is day to day, then why has there nothing been on Myers then? This is a little confusing.
Because they probably don't know anything about Myers right now. I think they're just trying to keep this like so under the table, just so like nothing leaks out, so they actually know what's the cause, so they know how long he's actually going to be out.
I'll say this: does this actually mean he'll come off the 26th, or is he just eligible to come off the 26th? Because it could be longer. Maybe Frost is long term and he's on IR. That's why.
Maybe.
Because if Coots isn't long term,
and he's not on IR.
He's not on IR. He's 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they put Kucherov on IR because of his hip surgery. He's going to miss the entire season. Oh my God, now I'm panicking.
I would assume Frost probably broke something or separated a shoulder last night. That's my assumption from what it was. From him limping over and skating, essentially gliding to the bench. I would assume Frost probably broke something or has a separated shoulder, something like that, where it's nothing like the Coots injury that I had no idea it could even happen or be considered an injury.
Yes, that's man. That's interesting topic right there. That's like something.
I just sent you the tweet if you want to check it out. But
yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out but like what you said, we're most likely not gonna find out any type of news until I would assume tomorrow morning, because you're gonna have to find out tomorrow morning at least. Because
I mean, if we don't find out tomorrow morning, we're gonna find out at night because the game. Well, I'm very confused because Coots is not on there, Myers is not on there. So does that mean Myers isn't as bad?
Or they don't know yet?
Yeah. I don't know. This is confusing because does Cap Friendly go through the NHL?
I think so.
It's not just like updates. It's like through the NHL.
It might be, or unless Cap Friendly has sources or something like that.
Well, I would assume they have sources, but it's like the main website for everything Cap related. And if you go on Cap Friendly, the official website, on their injuries, Morgan Frost is the first one on IR.
So I would assume if they get that information right out of the gates, they have to be somewhat partnered with the NHL.
Yeah, exactly. Again, because this stuff gets like the Flyers most likely know, it just hasn't been released to the media yet and the public. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I really don't know. It's kind of, and again, we apologize. We kind of didn't expect this to come on live here.
We didn't.
No,
it threw up our whole mojo because Morgan Frost is on IR. Great.
And it's like, well, what does that mean? What does this mean? And I can't figure it out. I don't know. I'm a little confused because again, if Couturier is not on there and Coots' injury was announced on Saturday, so it's 4.
Yeah, his injury was literally announced like the day after the game.
Saturday, yeah, because they played Friday night. It was like Saturday afternoon. Makes me think too. Maybe that MRI was quicker for Coots because it was either a different. It's obviously a different type of injury, could be, or they did it right after the game because he was essentially injured at what?
Because he was out basically at the beginning of the game.
Frost was in the second period. Myers was in the
first period.
First, yeah.
So hopefully that doesn't link the bad news. Hopefully that does not at all.
Yeah.
So I guess we can. I know that literally just threw off our entire mojo right there. But hey, that's what breaking news does. You have to react to it in the time that it happens. So I guess looking forward to Boston now. With the Bruins. So haven't they not scored an even strength goal at all this season at 5-on-5? Every goal that they have scored this season has been on a special team, whether it's power play or shorthanded.
Yeah, they had a shorthanded goal against New Jersey, and the others were power play. They won that first game 3-2, so the shootout, and they had 2 power play goals that night. And then they had the shorthanded goal in the other game. They got shut out the last game. So I think we all know that that's going to end tomorrow.
Yeah, I would assume it's going to end tomorrow. It's like you just can't imagine not scoring an even strength goal throughout. How many games have they played so far? What?
3.
3. So I would assume it's going to end at the 4th game. Like it's just mind-boggling to say you're not going to go without an even strength goal through 4 games. I just don't see that as possible. But then you look at right now with Boston's roster, David Pastrnak, he's not playing with the team right now. He's still injured. I'm sure he's not expected back until the beginning of February. I think around that point. Brad Marchand, he was expected to miss the season, but he did start with them. He got back earlier than expected. And then with Boston, one of the bigger concerns coming into their season is that they lost Torrey Krug and Zdeno Chara. So there was quite a few talks how is that blue line just going to shape up now? Because right now Charlie McAvoy is your top defenseman. So
and Lauzon, right?
And Lauzon. But you also have Tuukka Rask and Yaroslav Halak, one of the better goaltending tandems in the NHL. And so what's Boston's record right now on the season? Are they 1-1-1 or
they are
I think they're 1-1-1.
1-1-1, yeah.
Yes. So if you look at Boston right now, they haven't. They're always going to be a tough team that you're going to play against. They are a tough team every year. I do think they're a little bit on the decline, not as much as to the extent I would say Pittsburgh is, even though at Pittsburgh they won their last 2 games against the Washington Capitals. But
I believe this is their home opener, too.
This is their home opener?
I believe so, yeah. The first 2 games were road against New Jersey, and then the 1 game against the Islanders.
Oof. Yeah, so yeah, maybe that, even though like there's no Boston fans there, maybe that'll give them a little bit of energy right there and stuff. But it's still just thinking like, yeah, that 5-on-5 streak is definitely going to end tomorrow. It's just like when you look at this game and the lines that you brought up, Chris, that I would assume maybe that's what Elaine Vigneault goes with, but we're just not going to know until we get to warm-ups or anything like that. And then just Boston as a whole. Like, where do you see Boston right now? Just because they don't have a 5-on-5 goal yet. They look, I guess I wouldn't say they're struggling at it. They're just, for some reason, they can't find a way to cash in, whether it's not on the power play or shorthanded. So, like, how do you assess Boston right now with the way they're playing?
I guess I'm lucky. I mean, I haven't really seen much of their game to really say full estimate. I mean, I like Boston. I still think they're a good team in the division. They're nothing to shy away from. I mean, they're still the Bruins. Not having Pastrnak, that hurts, which is great for me because the guy I'm going up against fantasy right now has Pastrnak, and I guess he didn't realize that he was injured, so that was fantastic. I don't really know how to look into these games because the Flyers are hurting with the injuries, and Boston hasn't scored. So, well, they scored, but they haven't scored 5-on-5. So I don't necessarily know how to look at this going into this game because the goaltending for them has looked good. I mean, Rask hasn't really given up many goals. In I believe 2 games he's played.
Yeah, I know Halak played one of the other games against the Devils. I think it was
the overtime game.
Yeah, the overtime
Saturday.
game.
Yeah, the matinee game on Saturday. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I really don't know how to feel about going into this one tomorrow. I'll probably have a better estimate going into the game, like more closer to game time. But right now, I really don't know because, again, the Flyers are hurting. At least that's what it seems like. And Boston hasn't scored 5-on-5. And you got to think that's going to end tomorrow. And that's not just because it's the Flyers playing them. It's, that's hockey,
Yeah.
I have to think that ends tomorrow. There's no way they go 4 games straight without scoring a 5-on-5 goal. That's nuts.
Yeah. I find that to be highly impossible.
Yeah.
Just to go that long.
Yeah. I mean, something's got to give. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind if the next 2 games they don't score a 5-on-5 goal. Don't get me wrong. But
I don't mind they don't score at all the next 2 games.
Yeah, that would be great. Flyers ride a 3-game shutout streak going into
3-game shutout streak when you lose one of your top pairing defensemen.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm kind of looking at some of these comments. And honestly, I still can't believe the Frost thing. I just can't believe he's on IR because I can't wrap my head around it. Does that mean he's got to be out long term then?
Because we're trying to think of the entire scenario because they come out saying he's on IR, but there has been no statement whatsoever from the Flyers saying that he's on IR, nor how long he is going to be out for. Because we're just trying to see okay, he's on IR, but it also says he can come off IR, something like that. So does that mean he's only out for a week? Does that mean he's out longer? Well, Couture is out on IR, so does that mean Frost is going to be out for a while? Was the injury worse than it even looked? Or just, we don't know. That's the problem. We don't know.
Would Frost, would that take off the money on the cap?
Yes, if you go to IR, the money gets taken off the cap.
Well, he's on his ELC still.
Yes.
So that still does?
So I think regardless if you get put on injured reserve, anything that has to do with getting taken off the roster, your money gets taken off the cap. Okay.
Yeah, because somebody responded and said, I put a tweet up on Twitter and someone said, does that free up a contract spot or what? And then somebody else responded with I'm going to kill myself, like the Michael Scott gif, which is kind of funny. Yeah, any news on the MRIs? Yeah, so the only thing we really know, which is per cap friendly again, this is what I saw from Actually, it was the Liberty Yell, another Flyers podcast, tweeted it out, and they had quote tweeted it, which was a tweet from Cap Friendly that said that Frost has been put on IR. So I'm assuming this update's going to come tomorrow or tonight from the Flyers.
Yeah, knowing us, we will end this live stream, we'll end this podcast, and that's when the news will come out. So It makes me like, oh, do we just go to podcast the rest of the night and wait for the news to come out? No, we're definitely not doing that. We are not staying up the rest of the night. And then we got also another point from Alex Smith saying that, well, I guess you will assume Giroux will move to the center position and Buttleman will come up. Yeah, that's basically the assumption right now. Giroux,
that's my thought.
Yeah. Because, like, what else? Like, you can't keep Giroux at the wing because, one, you lost another center. So you're going to have to put G at center, and then you're just going to have to some way to mix the lineup. Like what you brought up, Chris, in the beginning of the show. When you have Giroux with JVR, maybe Raffle, maybe Bunneman or something like that. You still have Kevin Hayes with Farabee. You still have Patrick Lindblom and TK together. So AV is definitely going to have some work cut out for him because I'm sure he's really upset that the injury bug is affecting his team right now because it's just like, it's only been 4 games and I have lost 3 players. Like what, like can anything just go right for him?
Yeah, I know. It's weird because they never really, I mean, they've never really were like an injured team. Like I don't really remember them having so many injuries like that in recent years, I'll say.
And just one of these other comments right here from Mike of the Gamer. Any updates or Hart missing the game as backup? So I'm assuming your question is that is Hart going to be the backup for the next game? I would assume he's not going to be because I would assume Carter Hart, he's the guy for majority of the year. He's going to get majority of the starts. So who knows? Maybe Elaine Mignot does ride Brian Elliott just because he's coming off of a shutout. But my main assumption is that Carter Hart's back in the net tomorrow. He's had a couple of days off. Why not put him back in there?
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, Hart, he had the 2 days off going into it, not playing. And for Monday's effort, Hart wants to get back in there. They want to put their starting goaltender in there because poor showing for him. Again, not his fault. So I would assume he would have to start tomorrow against the Bruins and probably on Saturday too.
And also Mr. Philadelphia says Giroux should be the center of the top line. And maybe I know there's a lot of people that are like, of course, the Giroux haters coming out right now because he hasn't scored a goal yet this season, but he's getting assists. He's getting points. So
he's done everything but score.
Yeah, he's done everything but score, and that's why. He's not scoring a goal. That means he's sucking. So that's basically the assumption of the.
He's had many chances to score.
Yes, and like as you go on the season, Giroux is he's 33, 34 years old right now. He's not going to be the same Claude Giroux as he was when he scored the 102-point season, when he was in his prime. He's not going to be like, you can tell as the season's going along, the age is going to start, but he's still going to be, and he's still going to be serviceable. He's still going to be good. He's just like, lower your expectations a little bit. Stop holding them to this extreme high level because Claude Giroux is not Sidney Crosby. Claude Giroux is not Connor McDavid. And there are still so many people that hold him to that level. For some odd reason, I have no idea why. And just like when you see Claude Giroux not go for like so many games without a goal, it's just that so many people hate on him, and I don't understand why.
I never understood the Giroux hate. Anytime the team loses a game, you're going to get a comment. Oh, where's Giroux? Where's Voracek? Where's this? Where's that?
Yeah,
it's so aggravating. Like. I just love how after a bad team loss where essentially nobody played good, not even the equipment manager, and obviously I'm just joking around, but like I don't understand why it's put on one guy. Like, because they lost 6-1, let's blame it on Giroux. Let's blame it on
Hayes. He wears the C. He's the captain. He's the leader. If they lose that badly, it's on the leader.
It's a stupid thing.
It's gonna be that same scenario.
It's so stupid. Like, watch the game. Do I watch the same game as you? Like, that's the question I kind of have. It's like, and you know what? I have this thought, and I kind of want to get your opinion on this. Like, if people are so negative on the team and always have something bad to say, why do you still watch? Like, why do you still watch every game?
Because those are the type of people that they want to get comments from. They want to get people riled up. They want to get people arguing back with them because that's the type of people they are.
Yeah, and I get that, but like, it's the same time. It's like why do you even watch if all you do is complain about it? To me, it doesn't make sense because I think there's a lot of positive things with this team right now, even though they haven't necessarily played that great. I think one of these games coming up against Boston, they're gonna carry the load offensively, and I have a feeling they're gonna outshot the Bruins heavily in one of them. Now I don't know if it's tomorrow or if it's Saturday, but I have a good feeling that they're gonna kind of come into this, on the road. Bruins are coming home, Flyers are going on the road. We got to see how they play on the road too. That's one thing you got to keep in mind because from how good they were at home last year, and we saw how they were on the road at times. So again, all stuff like that kind of changes every year. I talked about that before. So again, I think for the most part, kind of just going into the games, just play your game. I mean, it's so easy to say, but like they need to play like they did last night, to be honest. Just don't give up as many opportunities. I think for the most part, if they had everybody, they wouldn't be giving up a lot of chances like that if nobody was hurt and things like that. So, I'm not really sure, but I think they just kind of have to come in and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to have to do because right now you're just unknown what the situation with Frost and Myers is, even though Cap Friendly says Frost is on IR, so we're just going to have to wait and see what the Flyers say. And then we got a couple more comments here before we wrap up this show saying Alex Smith saying he loves Giroux, but Patrick has looked really good in my opinion. So he follows that up with he would play Patrick on the first line. And that's something Chris brought up too, saying that all of the lines that Alain Vigneault mixes up, he necessarily doesn't label them as first, second, third, fourth line. They're basically, you can say they're 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. They're because you have so much depth throughout this lineup that when you started off the season, you had like at least 2 or 3 first lines that would probably be on any other team. You had Claude Giroux, Kevin Hayes, and Joel Farabee. That could easily be a first or a second line on another team. You had Nolan Patrick, JVR, and Jake Voracek, first or second line on any other team. This team is very deep, and they can roll out any line. So, maybe Alain Vigneault does give that line with Patrick Konechny and Lindblom more chance.
I don't mind it at all. Gives Patrick more ice time.
Yeah, they looked very good. A lot of chemistry.
I thought it was the best line last night.
Yeah, exactly. And Mike of the Gamer says, any updates on Ghost? Currently not right now. There really just hasn't been anything on Ghost. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe there's something that maybe he'll come back to the ice eventually, but we just have no idea. We just have no idea. Renee says that C and the 3 alternates, they always, on the losses, they will always get the blame. It's exactly right. That is exactly right there, Renee. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go to our final question, final comment of the day from Flyers28 saying, I love how we're looking right now. It's nice to see that our backup got 40 saves. I also love our line combinations. Exactly. The forward depth on this team is absolutely amazing. Yeah, and still, we got to look at it right now. We're only 4 games into the season. They
won 3 of the 4 games, and they won 3. We make it like they're 0-4.
Yeah, because people see bad play. Yes, they had sloppy performances in the 2 Pittsburgh games. They still won those, but yes, there were sloppy performances. Monday game, it was terrible. We want to throw that in the trash. Yesterday, it was their best performance of the first 4 games of the season. And maybe that's a sign of what's to come. Maybe that's a sign that this team is getting back into the groove. They're getting back into their consistency on maybe where they were last year. You're only 4 games into the season. And right now, I feel like there's just too many people that are saying the Flyers, if the Flyers want to prove themselves as contenders, they got to go out and do something. Well, be patient. I know a lot of people are very impatient with this team, but
do you really think Colorado and Vegas and Tampa Bay are all playing their best right now? No. The Avs got smoked on opening night, and then came out and won 8-0. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, they're going to win the cup."
Yeah. If you look at Colorado is one of the teams that probably has the highest expectations in this league, and they're still a very young team with a lot of inconsistencies.
It's 4 games into a season.
Calm
down. Take a breather.
Time. Just give it time.
I've never seen a fan base where they have one bad game and they should trade everybody and get rid of this guy and Gustafsson sucks and Hag's bad, whatever. It's just so annoying.
That's the Philadelphia fan base.
I'm tired of it.
That is the Philadelphia fan base entirety. That's what we live in. That's what we were engulfed in. And that's how it's going to be for the rest of our lives. So I think that is going to do it here. I know that was a sour note to end it off right there, talking about the Philadelphia fan base. But hey, that is always a topic because there's a lot of Flyers fans that complain.
You know what? Amedeo, Flyers are winning tomorrow. I'm saying it right now. I don't care about the predictions anymore. You know what? Doesn't matter. If they lose, call me a bum all you want. I really don't care. If they win, I think they're going to win tomorrow.
If they lose, I'm going to your house with a pitchfork and a torch.
I don't blame you. I'll be sitting there waiting for it. I'll be waiting for it.
So that is going to do it for this edition of the Flyered Up podcast. The Flyers will be playing the Boston Bruins Thursday and Saturday. Definitely expect here at the Painted Lines for watch parties. We've had the watch parties for the first 4 games of the season. They were very entertaining, very fun stuff. Definitely enjoying those right there. And just continue to stick with the Flyered Up podcast. Definitely we'll have another episode out after the Boston series, and we'll keep you updated as the days go on. Definitely subscribe here at the Painted Line. Subscribe to Flyers Fan Mania 93 for Chris. For me, myself, TTP Sports on YouTube. Just everything's hockey related, everything Philadelphia sports related. Stay tuned to us too. Stay tuned to the Painted Lines. We have it all covered for you. All the podcasts on here. It's some great work. And they're currently doing their watch party for the Sixers right now. So there you go. They keep grinding. They keep mucking grinding. So it's a very fun time here. So for this episode of the Flyered Up podcast, I'm your host, Amedeo Grassia. He is Chris Maher. Don't forget to check out our Flyered Up merchandise website. That link will be in the description below on this YouTube link. So don't forget to check that out. So thank you for tuning into this live stream. Thank you for the people that are listening on Spotify and Apple. And we will see you next time.